Hey, good morning, Connection Point Church. It's Pastor Malorri here for your midweek moment of January 13th. Admittedly, I am a little bit weary as a pastor this morning. We had a very long board meeting last night, so props to our church board members and associate pastors for working through that whole agenda we had last night. Lots of really great and wonderful things happened last night, church. We approved the renewal of Mel's local license, James and Claudine's district licenses. We approved the budget proposal, which includes supporting the church plant and a lot of other exciting things. We approved the ballot that we'll vote on for the church board and NY president and district assembly delegates on January 31st as a church. Lots of cool things going on. But we also had some tough conversations too. I mean, talking about a budget is not always easy. There isn't always agreements in that. And yet there was a sense of unity. There was a sense of God's Spirit leading us. There was another pretty tough decision that we had to make last night. And frankly, this morning, I'm still just asking the Lord for help in walking that out as we know the next right thing to do, but it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. And I couldn't help but be drawn to our text that I'm actually going to be preaching on this coming Sunday. If you were here Sunday or if you watched online, you know that Pastor Claudine started our series on the book of Esther with chapters 1 and 2. This Sunday, I'm going to be preaching from chapters 3 and 4. And it's really the beginning of the conflict in the book of Esther, the main conflict. There's already been conflict, as Claudine talked about on Sunday. But this is really the famous conflict in the book of Esther. And sometimes this part of the story is really romanticized. It's kind of glossed over, like there's a 1, 2, 3 easy plot line within the Christian life. But I want to call us back to remember these are humans walking through the complexities of life and trying to ask God, where on earth are you in the midst of it? What do you want me to do? And how do I do it? Give me courage. Give me faith. Our world's crazy, and that may just be each of our own little individual household lives, but it's also our national life, our state life, our global life, right? Like, there's a lot of crazy things happening, and God is in the midst of it, but it's not always clear what we're to do. And so I'm asking us, church, are we seeking God's face and what to do today? And each and every step of your day today, do you know that you can ask God for help? Admittedly, if you're watching this right now, it's probably because you got on to your email or YouTube or Facebook and you saw that there's a video you could be watching, which is great. It's awesome. Those are resources for us. But I wonder, have you also spent time in God's Word, letting Him speak to you? Have you spent time just talking to Him in prayer? That doesn't have to be fancy. That doesn't have to be out loud. That can be silent. That can just be you pausing to listen in the midst of your day for God's presence. So, just to give us a bit of that today, I want to actually read all of Esther chapter 4. Again, we're going to read Esther's 3. We're going to go through Esther 3 and 4 this Sunday. But I just want to let the words of Esther chapter 4 wash over you and all of the complexities of your day today. May the Lord speak to you and direct you and how to be faithful today through these words. Let's read together. This is Esther chapter 4 from the New Living Translation. When Mordecai learned about all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on burlap and ashes, and went out into the city, crying with a loud and bitter wail. He went as far as the gate of the palace, for no one was allowed to enter the palace gate while wearing clothes of mourning. And as news of the king's decree reached all the provinces, there was great mourning among the Jews. They fasted, wept, and wailed, and many people lay in burlap and ashes. When Queen Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her about Mordecai, she was deeply distressed. She sent clothing to him to replace the burlap, but he refused it. Then Esther sent for Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs, who had been appointed to her as an attendant. She ordered him to go to Mordecai and find out what was troubling him and why he was in mourning. So Hathach went out to Mordecai in the square in front of the palace gate. Mordecai told him the whole story, including the exact amount of money Haman promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai gave Hathach a copy of the decree issued in Susa, that called for the death of all Jews. He asked Hathach to show it to Esther and explain the situation to her. He also asked Hathach to direct her to go to the king to beg for mercy and plead for her people. So Hathach returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. Then Esther told Hathach to go back and relay this message to Mordecai. All the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter. And the king has not called for me to come to him for 30 days. So Hathach gave Esther's message to Mordecai. Mordecai sent this reply to Esther. Don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace you will escape when all other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this. Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai. Go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. And then, though it is against the law, I will go in to see the king. If I must die, I must die. So Mordecai went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him. This is a story of seeking God's face when it's not always clear. That very much may be your life today. So church, may you go, may you seek. If you need to wail and mourn, do that. If you need to plead, do that. If you need to ask for help, do that. But may we seek God's face together today for his will in each of our lives and his will for this world. Go in peace today.